Hello everybody, welcome, Talking Sense. I'm Ben, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a cracking video for you. Do you like Lalique Encre Noire? Of course you do, everybody likes Lalique Encre Noire, it's an amazing fragrance. Do you like Lalique Encre Noire but wish that you paid an awful lot more for it and it had just something a little bit extra? Probably not. That's probably if slightly less people are going to be saying like, oh me for that one. If that is you, I've got a cracking review for you. So today I got some samples from Bloom Perfumery, and the first one I tried on was Rouge, a perfume called Silhouette by a company called Rouge. The notes in this are coriander, pimento, nutmeg, rose petals. In the heart we've got atlas cedarwood, sandalwood, vetiver, cadywood, and in the base notes you've got musk, ambergris, leather and garlic wood. Now that doesn't sound much like Encre Noire, right? Well, when you spray it, seriously it is. So we'll give it a spray. I've got the dry down here, which does evolve. So like this isn't just like a review that's going to be like, hey, this whole thing just a Encre Noire clone, because it's not. The dry down is a little different, and I really want to talk about that. But the opening, so I'll spray it up here so it doesn't kind of smother my dry down. It doesn't spray very well, this sprayer. In fact, it just sort of drips. So that's going to have to do. So the opening, it smells like hugely pepper and hugely wood. If you have smelt Encre Noire, you know already what I'm talking about. It smells exactly like Encre Noire, but times a million with the pepper. Like it amped the pepper up really high, and that's what this is. It's dark, woody. It's incredibly dark, incredibly woody, and a lot of pepper. What you get on the opening is it smells like a big hunk of wood and a shed ton of black pepper. It really smells a lot of pepper. And then after a few minutes, that pepper comes down, which is thankful because the pepper is so big in this that it kind of tickles your nose. You know, it's really on that cusp of being probably a little bit too much, but it starts kind of dialing itself back down, and you realise that the pepper actually, that making up most of that pepper was actually a vetiver. So you get this kind of big hunk of wood with this really kind of spiced vetiver, and it's smells like a really great quality vetiver. I guess because it's got that kind of spiciness to it that's really kind of bringing something kind of multi-dimensional to it, so it feels quite high quality vetiver. Which is about now. So about now it smells to me bang on, like dead ringer for Encre Noire, but there is a difference. So the difference for me is that whereas Encre Noire feels like a sort of vague woodiness with this kind of vetiver, this one, it really smells sort of like a big chunk of cedar wood, like a real like hunk of cedar wood that someone's sawn into, and that's like right in front of you. Like you get quite a photorealistic woodiness, and quite singularly woody as well, which is nice. You know, you can really kind of almost like smell the grain, if you know what I mean. It really does smell like quite a focused wood smell, and then you've got that kind of peppery vetiver next to it. And say, like, to me it smells a lot like Encre Noire, except from the notes are just a little bit, you know, almost like Encre Noire if is looking at vetiver and wood without your glasses, and then you put your glasses on and suddenly the picture's clearer, right? Like that's what this smells like in comparison to Encre Noire. Encre Noire's like a cedary kind of vetiver, but slightly blurred, and your eyes are kind of not so great, and then you put your glasses on and then you look over here and you've got Rouge Silhouette, and it's exactly the same, but just the picture's clearer. You know, everything's slightly cleaner. You can see the grain in the wood, you can see the kind of fibres in the vetiver. That's, to me, the differences. And it, you know, if you then translate that to scent, that's kind of how I feel it's different. It's just like a very clear, transparent version of Encre Noire. So that sounds pretty good, right? Because Encre Noire is a great fragrance. It is a lot more expensive than Encre Noire, but if you want that kind of extra clarity, it's almost like HD Encre Noire or whatever, maybe it's worth it. But don't worry, don't fear, because the dry down comes in and it does change. See, whereas Encre Noire is quite linear and it's quite straightforward, this one starts getting a bit fruity in the dry down. And I don't mean fruity as in like fruity, I just mean fruity. And what starts happening, this dry down is gorgeous, and it still smells like similar. So it still smells, it's got the woodiness and the vetiver, but you get this kind of sweetness from the nutmeg, just a very slight sweetness from the nutmeg, and you get this a little kind of that kind of nutmeg runs underneath. And you also get this very like slightly sweetened, woody, musky ambergris, and it's absolutely top drawer. And that, I feel, sets it apart from Encre Noire. Otherwise, it doesn't really do a lot else. It's still quite simple. It's still that kind of husk of a cedar wood, like a big, chunky, sawn into cedar with a big, spicy vetiver. And then this kind of just thin slice of kind of nutmeg just streaking through the middle of it, just to kind of give it a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of spiciness, and sort of a bit of a new dimension to it, and almost like smooth it out and make it like kind of silky. And then underneath all of that, you've got this kind of slight woody, musky, gently sweet ambergris, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I really like it, but it's expensive and it's so close to Encre Noire. Would I buy it? And that's a trick, right? Because I mean, why? I've got a fragrance on my shelf that cost me £25. Why would I then go and spend £150 on this when it's so close? And in fact, I don't think it performs as well as Encre Noire. Like, Encre Noire is beast mode. I mean, if you do have Encre Noire, you'll know it. It's, you know, you fill a room in one spray. I don't think this is quite that. You need to spray a bit more on that. So it's not even as good kind of. It's not as beast as Encre Noire. I think a big difference is Encre Noire has a ton of ISO-E super, whereas I don't feel like this does. I can't really catch much ISO-E in it at all, in fact. And I think that's why it feels slightly more defined wood, because ISO-E super has that kind of woodiness to it, but it is a slightly vague kind of woodiness. It's not very specific. Whereas in this, I feel like they've kind of replaced that with an actual kind of real good wood accord. Using some sort of quality kind of woody ingredients there. I think that's the big difference. I think the wood accord is made less out of ISO-E super and more out of actual kind of absolutes and things like that, probably. And yeah, I think that's probably the difference. But it's really fantastic, but it's really pricey in comparison to Encre Noire. So I'm not sure if I'll buy it, but it's really fantastic. So who do I think it's for? I mean, if you smell Encre Noire, I would say it's really masculine. But I also know women that wear Encre Noire, and I think they can get away with it. This, I think, actually leans a touch more feminine than Encre Noire, because it's got that sort of gently kind of spiced sweet nutmeg just running through it, and the ambergris also has this kind of sweet sort of sweetened musk to it. So I do feel like it's sort of gently sweeter than Encre Noire, which does sort of bring it a little bit more to the unisex. I definitely think you could get away with it. You know, you could wear it as a woman and it would be fantastic. So I would say it's unisex that leans masculine. It's definitely a kind of evening fragrance, I guess, and one for the autumn. It will be amazing in the autumn, actually. In fact, the more I smell this, the more I want to buy it. It's really nice. It's really, really good, actually. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's like a kind of, yeah, like a kind of dark evening, sort of cold weather fragrance. I think you could wear it actually in the summer because it's not as monster as Encre Noire. So I think you could probably wear it in the warmer weather. But it's really going to suit in those kind of autumn winter. You know, it's that's when it's going to kind of really shine. But you could wear it in other seasons totally. I don't think it would. It's not going to be a fragrance that's going to be in danger of choking people out and destroying the universe, making people like vomit on themselves next to you on the tube or whatever. Like, you'll be fine. But it would shine in the kind of colder weather. But otherwise, I think it's pretty versatile in terms of, like, I think you could dress it up, I think you could dress it down. It's got a kind of ruggedness to it that lends it to be dressed down, but it's also very kind of, yeah, you could totally wear this dressed up and it would fit. It would not feel out of place. So overall, really great fragrance. Like I say, the only problem is when I think about would I buy it or not, because that's kind of how I tend to judge. These fragrances is this is a sample, so would I buy it? Yes, I would, but we're talking, I think it's £150 for 100 ml, and it smells a lot like something that I've already got. So would I buy that? I don't know. I mean, is it good enough to warrant? I mean, I think it is. I do think it is. I think I would sell Encre Noire or whatever, because I just wouldn't have a use for it, and buy this. In a perfect world, like so in a kind of imperfect world, which is the one we live in, you have what you can afford or whatever, and if I have like a limited budget for fragrances, am I really going to buy something that I already, that's so close to something I already own? Probably not. So I'm probably going to stick with Encre Noire. But when I have excess money, I would really like to buy this one and then get rid of the Encre Noire and then forget that Encre Noire exists and just be happy with this, because this is really beautiful and I do think it adds an edge. But it's expensive for what it is. If you don't have Encre Noire, I do think this is definitely worth checking out, and I wouldn't be too concerned or upset that you're paying more for something that's very similar to something that's cheaper. If you know what I mean, like if you've never smelled Encre Noire, just forget it exists. Think about this one, if you like the sound of it, because I think it does offer enough that you would find value in it. I think it definitely offers enough to warrant the extra money. I think mainly it's in that kind of dry down, that the kind of the initial spray, with it, like the early kind of and the mid. That first sort of like 30 minutes, I feel like if you spray them both, you'd be quite disappointed. They're very similar, very, very similar. Like I say, like Silhouette just has that kind of definition, that kind of HD kind of glasses on, sort of high definition view of it. Whereas like that's really the only difference. But the dry down, really it shines in the dry down, and it's got facets that Encre Noire can only dream of, basically. So I think, if you've never smelled Encre Noire, you don't own Encre Noire, but you'd like a spiced, woody, sort of vetiver autumn winter fragrance, definitely worth checking out. 100%. I mean, if you look at people's autumn winter lists on YouTube, like other YouTubers, I bet you a lot of them are going to be talking about Encre Noire, because it's such a gem of a fragrance, and this smells just like Encre Noire but better. So that probably says a lot. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about Rouge Bunny Rouge Silhouette. A really, 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 really nice Encre Noire kind of beta, I guess. I guess it's the kind of Encre Noire for poshos, maybe. Yeah, really great. Really like it. Very addictive. I'm so tempted to buy it. It's so nice. That dry down is really magic. It's something. Yeah. It's a good fragrance. Really, really pleased I sampled that. And will be definitely something that now goes on my to buy list. The urgency of when I buy it who knows? But it's 100% on my buy list. This is a really good fragrance. So yeah, Rouge Bunny Rouge Silhouette, nice one. So I've just been looking up Rouge Bunny Rouge Silhouette a bit more, and I was kind of curious who the perfumer was. Turns out it was Natalie Lawson, and Natalie Lawson, turns out, made Encre Noire, Encre Noire Extreme, Encre Noire Sport. So I now am even more convinced, more than ever, that it's not just my nose. She's just rehashed the Encre Noire formula and tarted it up a little bit with some slightly kind of more expensive ingredients, I think. So yeah, it's kind of nice to find that out and realise that, you know, it's not your nose going crazy, and that you are kind of, you know, this is a ringer for something else. So yes, Natalie Lawson, Encre Noire, Encre Noire Sport, and Encre Noire Extreme or whatever, and Rouge Bunny Rouge. Big surprise.